And now we have the gentleman from the great state of Illinois, Congressman Foster, is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Chair Powell. I guess when things are going well, it's as they currently are, it's all of our duties to look around the curve and see it, the risks that keep you up at night. So I appreciate Representative Luetkemeier's question. Now, over the last few years, there have been increasing interest in synthetic risk transfers, SRTs, or credit-linked notes, which are often used by U.S. banks to shift risk away from the banking system and as a means of managing regulatory capital. So I've been concerned by recent reports that the buyers of some of these SRTs may be investing in them using bank-provided leverage, in which case the risk could just boomerang right back into the banking system. Frankly, when I read about this, it triggered my PTSD from the AIG situation with credit default swaps during the financial crisis. Now, I understand the Federal Reserve plays a role in approving SRTs, in fact, issued guidance to U.S. banks regarding their issuance last fall. Could you say a little bit about the ways that these investments can be a safe way for banks to offload risk, and in what ways they could become a dangerous source of contagion?
Sure. So there could be a breakdown in a couple of places in the chain, as you're obviously aware. One is just that the risk isn't really well and fully transferred to the buyer. And that's just the first step is that risk going away off the balance sheet in an unconditional kind of a way, in a way that the bank understands? And that's a good thing if banks are able to do that. Then the question is it coming back through the back door with financing? And so we're well aware of that. Banks do tend to bring these things to us, and we look at them carefully. We understand some of the ways it can go wrong. And but at the end of the day, if it works to reduce the risk on a bank's balance sheet, that's something we should be okay with.
Yeah, but there's if you could just say, what sort of insight and control does the Federal Reserve have into all the connections, particularly when the connection may go through businesses that you do not have direct, non-bank entities that you may not have direct oversight over?
My understanding is that this is a very active dialogue we're having with banks. They want to know how this is going to be treated. They don't want to do something that is going to come back on them or that we will deny the treatment on. So I think there's a pretty transparent set of exchanges around how these things work. We're very clear on what we think our requirements are. This is what I'm told, so we saw what went wrong the last time. I think no one wants to repeat that, including the banks. Mm-hmm. So,
well, if you conclude, and as you're actively studying it, that you need more visibility into certain areas of particularly non-bank things that may be part of the chain of contagion, please let us know, because it's our job to avoid the next crisis. I think it's my personal goal to die before we have another financial crisis, and then I'll be doing my job well. Now, I understand also the value of SRTs in the U.S. are relatively small, and the bulk of these are offshore. Is the growth of this practice internationally something you're watching closely, and is there anything that might provide a sign of early trouble in terms of international contagion that might creep back in?
So I haven't heard that flavor of it, but I'll check on that and let you know.
Do you remember with AIG, the real problem with AIG falling into bankruptcy is that it would immediately put a bazillion of the European banks into violation of their capital requirements, which was major contagion.
Yeah.
Do you have a sense of the time scale for the liquidity proposal at this point?
I think, the main thing is we have this very large, important project on Basel III, and I think we're pretty close to being able to move that out into the public view again. And I think once we've done that, we can move on to the other things that are there. And one of them is the liquidity proposals. And I don't want to put a specific time frame on it, but we're certainly working toward that sometime later this year, I would think.
Later this year, we'll have the first view of that.
I would think so.
Okay. I understand it's still under negotiation between agencies, but can you say directionally the Basel III, the new amended proposal, is it just going to be in the direction of sort of weakening it, watering things down toward the current capital requirements, or will there be areas where it's actually strengthening them?
Oh, no, there will be a capital requirement in it that is consistent with Basel III, and a capital increase that's consistent with Basel.
My question is, if you look at what the original proposal was compared to what you intend to put out, are you moving in the direction of more toward the current situation? And if so, if you can just interpolate, it seems like if you have comments on the proposal you put out, you understand comments on the status quo, and you're somewhere between that, then maybe you don't need another set of comments because everything that can be said has been said.
It's a little more complicated than that, but that's essentially right. You have current levels of capital, you have the proposal, and you have, which is a lot of gold plating, and then you have where it's shaking out, and that's, but it's
So
more
I just was wondering why you need more comments.
there are many different pieces. The answer is there are many, many different pieces of that.
Thank
It's
you, and
not
I'm
just
over time.
Gentleman's time is up.